Another episode here of Beyond the Covers. I'm basically stealing this idea for this series, guys. This is not really an original idea. I'm basically doing a bastardized version of ETA Nick's reviews that he does. He does, like first appearance ratings. He does this with basically only first appearance books. Look at the inside with you in his videos and tell you what he thinks about the story. And I love his videos when he does that. So that's why I do these. Anyways, in this one, we're going to be looking at X-Men number 145, an awesome Claremont Cockrum team-up. Batman 286, which I actually have not read yet. So this will be the last one I do in this video, and I'll do the little review of the interior right after I read it. So that'll be kind of a first year for me. It'll be like 5 minutes after I finish reading it for the first time. I'll let you know what I thought about it. I got this for the cover down at my LCS. I think I got it for $5. So I thought that was a no-brainer for a pickup, so I picked it up. And Sandman number 1, which is a crazy book that I can't wait to tell you about. All right, guys? So here we go. Another episode of Beyond the Covers. Let's get going.
All right. Again, I'm going to try to keep it to 5 minutes per book, so let's get going here, because this is going to take a little bit of talking. And this glare will be gone as soon as I get off the cover here, guys. But I actually decided to read Sandman number 1. I kind of put it to the top of my to-read now pile because of Comic Book Longbox. For those of you who know who that is, a YouTube guy. He suggested that I read this, and I did, and man, was I glad that he suggested that for me. This is Simon and Kirby's team-up at DC in the early 70s. Second time, I guess you could call it the revamp for the Sandman. He was kind of really a different character in the Golden Age, but he did have that gun, which he also has here, basically, which allows... well, he doesn't have a gun here, but one of his abilities is he can throw sand onto people and puts them to sleep. But the Sandman, okay, I'm just going to start flipping through this as I talk because I got to keep it going here quickly. But, wow, was I surprised when I read this. I read this recently, was it last night? Yeah, last night is when I read this. And it was the first time I'd read it. It was one of those that I just knew I would have to do, man. I'd heard that it was Kirby kind of going off and doing his own thing, and it was. It's a crazy first issue story. There's so much packed into this first issue. I don't even know where to start, to be honest. This first splash page, it took me I swear to God, I stayed on this well, it's not a full splash page, but I stayed on this first 2-page panel here for 2 minutes, just trying to figure out exactly what was going on. There's so much happening here. There's the Sandman you got here, who's part of, he can go in and out of the dream world and the real world. And he basically, in this first issue, saves this little boy here from dying. I forget if he's about to die. But it saves him from peril in his dreams, because the idea is he can actually be harmed in his dreams, or it's weird stuff. And you're going in and out of dream world and reality world throughout the story. Sometimes I remember I had to read back to figure out where I was, if I was in dream world or the real world. This little green guy is like a puppet that has a really funny name. I forget what his name is. And it's supposed to be like a puppet that also is sort of possessed. And you can see it has a little bit of a personality here. And the old man has weird feelings about this boy's green puppet. He feels like it's watching him, and you find out that it really is watching him, or is it? It's not really. They kind of leave some questions like that unanswered. It's really weird. They make that one of the central issues, story issues in this first issue, that puppet, whether it really is alive or not. And they never answer it. At the end of the issue, I was like, what the hell? It was like they just kind of went off on their own tangent. This story, I have to say, man, the way it was trippy storyline, or got the Sandman going in here to rescue little Jimmy or whatever his name is from falling down in his dream. And then all of a sudden, the part where I was just like, okay, now this has really just gotten out of control, is when they introduce Sandman's 2 partners here. Brute, you see that? Brute and Glob. Those 2 little characters. These guys are basically what you would think. Brute's the muscle, Glob is kind of the brain, and they just made it even weirder, man. They took a story from trippy, weird 60s sort of vibe, like a Steranko almost sort of vibe, to just even weirder. And here you can see the old man again playing with the puppet. Well, not playing, getting mad at the puppet, actually, getting freaked out at the puppet. And then the old man actually takes the boy's puppet and smashes the doll on the table. I remember this is the panel where I was like, okay, this is I don't know if this is a comic made for kids, man. When I was reading this, it's some sophisticated storyline, if you ask me. Really complicated stuff happening.
Lots of layers to this story. And the Kirby art I thought was interesting. Maybe you're noticing it too. Actually, I think it started getting better as you go from page to page. It's weird. I swear, as you go through the comic, Kirby's artwork starts to improve. There's a lot of weird things about this first issue. I just couldn't put my finger on it. It almost felt like it was put together not at the last second, but just a lot of different stories happening in a very unusual comic. I don't know. I'm having trouble describing it quickly. Here they switch over to a Japanese setup where all of a sudden you're introduced to this villain who's basically this brainiac looking guy who looks awesome. Look at that. The way Kirby's drawing him here, just that alone is incredible, if you ask me. I forget what this guy's name is. I should remember. Anyways, he's basically an evil ruler. He's like left over from World War II, and he's still basically stuck in World War II era thinking, where he's trying to defeat the U.S. It's crazy. So you get these weird mixture of like World War II era story with horror sci-fi kind of story with the dream world stuff mixed in with superhero stuff, you know, with the Sandman having his cape and everything. And it's this, I have to say, kind of nice mix of genres of comic book. And I guess that's why I'm having so much trouble describing it, actually. I just realized is it really is a comic that has a wide variety of genres mixed up into one storyline. Yeah. Huh. All right, I now feel better. I finally figured out how to describe Sandman #1. And as I was saying about ETA Nick earlier, you know, ETA Nick says the way he decides if a comic is good, regardless of its significance, you know, for comics that followed afterwards, or for whoever was involved in it creator-wise. Obviously, Simon and Kirby is one hell of a team-up. Does it make you want to read the next comic? Do you want to read on? You know, does the story make you want to see what happens next? And after I read this, I have to admit, man, especially with these two characters here, whatever his name is, Brute and Groll, or whatever their names were, or Glob and Brute, I think. They just made me think, what the heck is going on in this storyline now, you know? Really unusual stuff, I thought, for Kirby that made me want to read on. And I will probably be getting at least 3 or 4 more issues now of this 70s Sandman run. So there you go. That was 6 instead of 5 minutes, but that's okay. That's the one I was really the most excited about, was Sandman #1. I think most people, you know, have read it, actually. I think I was kind of behind the train on this bad boy right here. But if you haven't read it yet, you know, it's not super, super expensive. You just want to get a reader copy. And I would highly suggest. All right, on to the next one here. Doom. Oh, Dr. Doom. I do love Dr. Doom, like most people do. He's one of my favorite Marvel villains. Probably top 5 if I had to be forced to come up with a list. So here we go, into X-Men 145. I originally got this for my brother because he is a Storm fan. And with his permission, I ended up keeping it. Because I read it, and I liked it so much, man. I liked the story and the art so much. You know, John Byrne isn't on the X-Men anymore here with issue 145. But people forget, or maybe people don't forget, but I forget maybe, that, you know, Cockrum is really where it all started there. On the second round with the new X-Men team. And Chris Claremont, of course, is just carrying the X-Men here. Just carrying them. His stories are insanely good, man. Okay, I gotta try to be quicker with this one than with Sandman, but what can I say? Cockrum's artwork is detailed, but at the same time, sometimes feels kind of heavy. I love Nightcrawler back then, man. Look at this one panel right here. It's worth taking a moment. Look at the attention to detail. Let me get this in focus. Look at the attention to detail on Nightcrawler's coat. See that? I love the colors, too. Everything about this one panel just really got my attention. I remember when I saw this, I was like, yes, that's it. You can tell that these guys really cared about what they were doing. You know, it wasn't them just rushing through to try to produce more pages. Really quality stuff, man. And the storyline, with everybody pretty much knows, but with Chris Claremont working here at this point on the X-Men, he's got so many different ideas for where he wants to go, and he's wrapping up so many places that he's been with different storylines and all the different characters he's playing around with, that it's phenomenal. It's pure entertainment in comics, is the best way to describe it. It's just good shit.
was going to say we're going to skip ahead, but let's just take a quick look here at our Doom panels. Yes, I am Doom. I rule here. That's right, you are. He sees Storm. That's right. Storm goes into the castle, and they end up dining. Look at the Storm artwork here. Man. But yeah, here, I'll just show you real quick. I remember they... I can't remember why, but Storm gets suckered into... Look at these panels, man. Wow. Storm gets suckered into having dinner with Doom. Here it is. See this? And Doom is kind of like sweet-talking her. Mine is a solitary existence, he's saying. I entertain rarely, and when I do, I rarely have a guest as charming and beautiful as you, he's saying to Storm. And Storm starts actually becoming attracted to him. Look at that. She's saying, I'm enjoying this. I can't believe it. I'm actually enjoying Doom's company. So they're having a romantic little dinner here, which is a weird little bit that happens. I did not realize that that had happened. Here we are. We stay with Doom at the very end, saying, you will not leave alive, bitches. And look at Colossus there getting rocked by Doom's hand. Doom just says, what, Colossus? Oh, you wanted to fight? What? Love that. Love that. Okay, I'm supposed to be moving on here, but I don't care. I just saw this, and this is too good to pass up, man. So, sorry if this video goes too long. Skip ahead, people. This is too good to pass. Look at this, in the letters to the editor section, right? You know, I'm used to reading in these Silver Age ones, I'm used to reading Stan Lee's responses, which are always lighthearted and, you know, whimsical and funny. Have little slogans in them. Enough said. Stand up, straight, or whatever. What else does he say? Face front. You know, that kind of stuff, his slogans for his Marvel fandom. But this, Chris Claremont responding to this little girl's, Pam Siegfried's comment. I'm not going to read you hers, but read what he says here. This just lets you know everything you need to know about Chris Claremont, man. I was telling you how layered it is and how good the writing is. Wow, this is how serious he took what he was doing. He's preaching here, is what he's doing. December 1980. Pam, I've thought of Auschwitz. What it was, how it came to be, what it means for me as a person, us as a race. All my adult life. You see, before I got sidetracked into comics, I'd set out to become a historian and a political theorist. The statements stand. War is wrong. Killing is wrong. Just because there may be no alternative does not mean we should not first seek one. Violence frequently seems the simplest solution to a problem or threat, as it is often the easiest and most emotionally satisfying. But being civilized, perhaps even being human, carries with it the responsibility to at least be aware of another path, even if circumstances preclude our following it. In a sense, Nightcrawler, and here he's tying it in to his writing, Nightcrawler was echoing your own beliefs by reminding Wolverine, however subtly, sorry, I'm trying to hold this a little bit more still here, however subtly, of the consequences of his acts. Logan holds in his claws, in himself, the power of life and death over those he fights. That is something he must never forget, something he should never treat casually. For if he, or by extension we, do you see that? It's so important right there. By extension we, take a life casually, without thought or care, if this supreme gift means so little to us, then all our claims to civilization, all our culture, all our beliefs aren't really worth a plugged nickel. Chris Claremont, 12/1980. Wow. Wow. That response is almost poetic, the way it's written. What a message. There's a preacher, my friends. There is a true comics preacher. Break time. Now I get to read a comic. Yeah. Nobody all too notable in this one. I just took a quick sneak peek here. I see this list. I'm not like, oh yeah, great. It's fine, I guess. Denny O'Neil doing the story. Irv Novick on the art. I don't know. Let's just take it at face value and see if... so far, so good. Right? A nice sort of dark, with a little mixture of humor, kind of Batman story. You can see they're entering the carnival here, and DC's plugging their own characters with the Flash and Superman and Green Arrow there on the right. But what I thought was interesting, if you look down here, the bottom left panel, is they have at the carnival somebody dressed up as Thor. Isn't that kind of weird? Why would DC be plugging a Marvel character? I thought that was kind of odd. There's Thor appearing in a DC. One thing I'm noticing as I'm going through this Bronze Age Batman here is it's very quick reading. I'm kind of plowing through this thing, man. Normally, with my Marvel books, you know, it takes me a little bit longer to read these Silver Age Marvel books, especially something like a Silver Age Spidey. Oh, man. I could spend sometimes 40 minutes really, you know, going through it if I'm really enjoying the artwork and stuff to read just a single comic. This one I just seem to be plowing through. It's kind of a simple storyline. Satisfying, you know. Batman saving little kids and stuff from disaster, but I don't know. It's pretty simple so far. I'd say so far. One thing I do like about Batman is almost all of them will have, you know, kind of like sticking with where it originally came from with Detective Comics. They'll have a not just a superhero story, but also sort of a detective suspense story, you know, where you got to figure out exactly what's happening. And this one, they're trying to search for the real Joker. And there's all sorts of players. Look, there's jewels being exchanged for cash, and lawyers, and double crossing, and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's more of a detectives kind of thing, not really a superhero sort of thing. And I like how they mix that in with Batman, and they do that here in this one. So far, you know, I'm getting more into it as I'm going through the book. So I'm not going to say anything. Just read. Just read. And although there are some darker panels in this one, which I like, and kind of some darker storyline, there's also that mixture still hanging over of the Silver Age corny Batman storylines here. You can see the Joker threatening the Bat with his mustard. And what does he do? He actually squirts mustard in Batman's face. And makes Batman blind. Temporarily defeats Batman with mustard. Yeah. Meh. And then pretty much explains itself here in the House of Mirrors. But that's what I mean by the story. It's simple enough where you can almost just tell it with the pictures. Pretty basic. Pretty basic. Focus. Goes into the mirrors, sees the Joker. Can't figure out which Joker is the real Joker with the gun. But then figures out a way to make the Joker blink and figures out where the Joker actually is. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Just look at the pictures. It's pretty obvious. You know, I think they're still kind of writing for young people at this stage with kind of simple stories, unfortunately. But they are starting to trend towards more of that Bronze Age Batman that I keep hearing is good stuff. So I'll keep looking. I'll keep looking for cheap pickups until, you know, I find a little run here or there of stories that I enjoy from Batman. If anybody wants to recommend where I should look for Bronze Age Bats in terms of which issues to look at, let me know. I know obviously Neil Adams stuff, but beyond that, let me know. This was issue 286, and that is another episode of Beyond the Covers. Hope you enjoyed, peoples. Later on.